You're listening to Innovators Can Laugh, the fun startup podcast. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Eric Melcher. And on Innovators Can Laugh, we investigate a new topic each week and interview some of the most innovative minds in the startup scene here in Europe. My goal is to turn my guests' wisdom into actionable advice that you can use to grow your business. No matter your industry, I'm here to uncover value from my guests by doing the proper research and asking the right questions. And at the end of each interview, we have a little fun where my guests reveal fun and interesting facts about themselves, the stuff you won't see on their LinkedIn profile. If you're new to the show, I'm a marketing geek and head of partnerships at tech startup Bonjoro. I'm also an American expat living in Romania. If you're curious about other European startups and what they're doing to scale, gain customers, or things that they do to differentiate themselves, hit the subscribe button because you'll love it here at Innovators Can Laugh podcast. Also, you can play the Innovators Can Laugh game and have an opportunity to compete against other startup folks on Twitter. Just look for the hashtag Innovators Can Laugh. Hey, ICO fans. In this episode, we're talking about executing smart account-based marketing strategies with Andrei Zinkevich. He is the co-founder of Fullfunnel.io, and Andrei is a pro when it comes to full funnel marketing for B2B companies. So Andrei started his career as an area sales manager for Kimberly Clark before switching to marketing and working as a CMO and B2B consultant for more than 50 B2B companies across Europe and North America. Andrei now consults growing B2B companies that have a long and complex sales process. And in this conversation, we discuss the thing that companies should stop doing when it comes to ABM, the sales problems that he and his team solve, and the most important things that he has learned over the years. If you're wanting to get a better understanding of ABM and be smarter about influencing the decision-making process when it comes to sales, then this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Andrei, I'd like to start off with a recent LinkedIn post that you shared. You shared step-by-step how to identify great accounts for an ABM campaign, how to qualify them, how to do account research to identify the potential needs, identify the buying committee, and how to warm up the buying committee and build a relationship before outreach. Keywords here, before outreach. When did the idea of doing all of this account-based marketing pre-work first occur to you?
So that's a fantastic question. Look, one of the most funny questions I'm receiving is how did you get into IBM? Did you learn from any vendors? And I'm explaining, look, I started my career in 2006 and first 5 years I spent in sales and then switched to marketing. And basically I was in charge of key accounts and our market was limited to 50 core retail chains. So you have no chances to do anything else than account-based marketing, right? So I learned it the hard way. There were no technical vendors like HubSpot, Terminus, Demandbase or whatever. So it was just a normal sense of doing marketing. And then you realize, okay, you have this 50 core chains and you sign yearly contracts, right? So it's not like you negotiate every month, dealing with this. There is no stuff like lead generation that you can send, automated emails to, let's say, the buying committee of these chains and get some bookings, some meetings booked, and then you sign contracts because these are multi-million contracts. You have no other chances than doing your work properly. So and when it comes to the operations, just want to give you some context and background, and then you'll understand my approach and methodology. When you sign these contracts, you are always negotiating the so-called shelf share, basically how much space on the shelves in the supermarkets you'll get for your goods, right? Because I was working for Kimberly Clark. So now the more space you have, the more items you can sell, right? There are, of course, other different things to be considered, but just to give you the idea. So to influence this, you need to explain the benefits, of different, because in Kimberly Clark sold different product categories. It was baby diapers, feminine care, all of that stuff. And you need to explain this to different purchasing managers. And then you have the head of the buying committee. And then you have marketing department who cares a lot how you are going to promote, your products, how you are going to stimulate sales and all of that stuff. You see where the buying committee comes from, right? And all of them have different needs. So while the category managers, they care about the, let's say, ROI from one square meter. So they want to get maximum revenue from the space they have for their specific category. Now, the head of the buying committee or head of purchasing department cares about the total revenue that you can bring as a vendor, while marketing team cares a lot about your marketing budget and basically how you are going to boost the sales. So completely different needs, completely different KPIs, etc. Now, when it comes to countries, about your question, you need to follow with the news and press releases of these different chains, where they want to be. Are they going to acquire, maybe are they going to expand their businesses? If you ask to what regions, right? Because all regions were not created equal, right? In some regions, you have lower purchasing power, which means that for this region, you probably should come with different assortment, right? You can't sell premium goods, in the region with the lower purchasing power. So
Right.
you need to see, like, if they are going to, to open huge hypermarkets, or they are going to open the so-called, drogeries or maybe small shops. And again, it influences what exactly to sell to these regions. And then that's the power of the account research, because if you know this information, right, then you can come up with personalized proposal, and you're going to explain, hey guys, this is assortment that I recommend for these shops, right, for this format of shops. This is what I'm thinking to do with this format of shops. Then you mentioned that you are going to do this and that, and to help you to immediately, boost sales, we are going to allocate this marketing budget to this specific region. And then this is my forecast. This is what we can expect in sales, etc., right? Now, that's the account research part and the warm-up part, right? You can't just come as a random, of course, they know the vendors, right? But the question is that we have much bigger competitor, which is Procter & Gamble, the leading vendor in the world, right? Doesn't matter in what country you live. P&G, exactly. Doesn't matter in what country you live. They will be leading in your country. Then in Europe, yeah, exactly. So in Europe, we have SCA, which is a huge Swedish company, and is the main competitor for Kimberly Clark for being number 2, let's say. Then we have Polish manufacturer called CMO, and then some other, depending on the regions, we have some other competitors. And then you have huge competitor, which is private label of the supermarket, right? And they are going to promote their private label.
Promote their, absolutely, yeah.
You see, when, and now the question is, basically, you can't just send one cold email and say, hey guys, I want to have a meeting with you, and sell you all of my stuff and get 70% of the shelf space, in your
That
chain.
doesn't work, Andrei? That doesn't work?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. So the question is also, what is really important? You have public press releases, right? But the key insights you can get from insiders or so-called champions, right? If we'll use ABM vocabulary, right? Champions, these are the people who are usually, maybe in our case, these were category managers who can give you the insights about what are their main initiatives, what they are going to do, what's happening with the category, etc. Plus some core insights about the company's initiatives. And that's why you need to have this warm-up player, right? This is so crucial. In our case, right, we didn't do like all that stuff that I'm promoting now, like podcasting or LinkedIn thought leadership of all of that stuff, but we did completely different things. So what we did micro events where we invited these core buyers, right? We had like one-to-one evenings, so we could, invite them and just discuss, and, it was like so-called like a dinner, discussing the trends in retail, right? This is the way how we build this relationship. Quite often it could be, like non-business events. So let's say if I know, let's say that you are a big fan of football. Or in US we have soccer, right? We call it soccer. And I used to play football all my life. I'm still playing. So I was thinking I never thought that I will be in marketing. I thought that I will have professional football career. But what is nice here that I had, just to give you a precise example, at one point, at one of my biggest clients, right, I knew that their head of purchasing department is also playing football and big fan of the local team. So my next step was, I'm like, hey, so can we play together? Do you have any training? So maybe if you can call me, just a friendly game, I would happily join you. And then he invited me. He saw, oh, so you are so good at football, and then you have this relationship, non-business related. And then I say, hey, by the way, do you attend the games of this local, football team? He said, yeah. So let's go together. And basically next time I just purchased, VIP tickets. So we went, we had some fun, drinking getting some beers, and it was like, now it was more friendly relationship. But at the same time, I was able, to chat a lot and get this insider insights. And that's exactly the warm-up play, right? Because then when we had these yearly negotiations, it was way easier for me to come up with the personalized research. It was way easier for me to personalize it to different buying committee members, come up with this contract, right? And with the good program, I'm calling this program because it's like yearly program adapted to the needs of different, shops of this chain. And I'm sending this to them. And of course, now maybe the last part of our methodology, like the creative outreach. And I used always, how it's usually the end of the year, everybody comes with like different gifts, purchasing like bottle of, I don't know, whiskey or whatever, right? Something like some expensive gifts. Yeah. Instead of this, I knew exactly their interests, their hobbies, and I sent it via couriers, what we are doing right now with direct mail, right? So it was literally the same, but it was personalized with handwritten note by me, and that was fantastic, and people always loved it. And that's why I had so much successful career, and then later was able to switch to the consultant side of the business. So hope this long story gives you more sense and more context what we are doing with account-based marketing.
Yeah, it does. There's a couple of things you mentioned. You said back then in 2006, you didn't have the kind of tools that you have today. You didn't have HubSpot like you do today. So today, what are like three of your favorite tools that if you're doing account-based marketing, these are the tools that I highly recommend that are going to allow you to be organized, have all your contacts in one place and be able to make decisions based on the most current information that you have available?
So regarding the tools, I would share with you probably again, it's not popular opinion, right? I'm always saying that you can do ABM without any software, honestly. So it's still like I just explained to you, you can still do it that way, right? The first step is basically before purchasing any software and building your tech stack is developing the processes. Until you'll develop the process, you won't understand what software will help you. HubSpot is not a silver bullet. Terminus is not a silver bullet. The demand base is not a silver bullet. So start building the processes and then you'll see, okay, maybe if your company heavily uses, Salesforce, then you need to find something that integrates with Salesforce and would be a fantastic add-on. So you don't need to spend lots of time, to train people to use a new software. So that's the way. But basically, I would I would share with you several categories of software that you must have in your stack. That would be potential. And if I could have this, in the past, that even accelerated all the results that we had at Kimberly Clark. So first of all, it's intent data software. And when it comes to intent data, there are so many vendors. I would just give you the key, probably three core categories that you need to maybe have software or purchase a software. So the first one is website IP identification software that reveals the website visitors, companies that are visiting your website. That's crucial, right? So you can track the awareness, you can understand what content was consumed, right? Where did they come from to find the core channels, and then you can connect with the buying community again if this account fits your ideal customer profile. So the second one is mention. We have like mention.com. There are again so many alternatives, but the key idea here is that you track the keywords in your space. It could be your brand mentions, or it could be, the keywords that are related to your product. In our case, account-based marketing, right? And then you see all the tweets or credits or whatever, right? So, and then you can engage with this content. You can see who exactly posted this, and again, qualify the account and add this account to one of your ABM plays. And finally, the third one is the intent search software. So Bombora provides really great service where you can see companies that are searching for specific keywords like account-based marketing or whatever. So these are three categories, right, that belong to intent data. The next one is sales enablement, or I love to call it buyer enablement, because it's about helping our buyers to make the decision and basically select us as the vendor. So in this space, we need to have so-called content hubs, right? Again, there are so many vendors. We use Paperflight. And what is great here about this category is that you can create a dedicated content hub, let's say content hub for Eric, where I can put, if you're interested in account-based marketing, I can add our top case studies. I can share with you our framework, like how to go from zero to ABM, how to scale ABM, explain how to work with us, what's the difference of working with Fullfunnel.io versus lead generation or marketing or digital marketing agency, sharing the benefits for marketing team, sharing benefits for sales team, making the campaign, pilot campaign forecast, right? And the power of this dedicated content hub is that now you have everything in one place, and I try to address all your potential questions, concerns, or doubts that you might have, right? And I have this question. Oh, I find it here, right? I have this question. I find it here. And that's the way, this is how we can accelerate the purchasing decision. That's crucial. And aside this, of course, LinkedIn, if you're in B2B space, you need to have LinkedIn Sales Navigator because it will accelerate the account list building process. And CRM, that's pretty it.
Okay. And now when it comes to running ABM campaigns, what do you think is something that everybody should either stop doing or start doing? I know you mentioned that before you even get into the tools, you want to come up with the processes. But in your experience, what is something that people are doing that they should really just stop?
First of all, stop building push list of dream accounts. Everybody wants to have Microsoft or Apple's logo on their website, but the truth is, if Microsoft or Apple, if they don't have point intent, if they have zero interest in your product, then you're just wasting your time and budget. So that's the first thing.
Casey, I don't know if you're listening to Andrei here, but stop asking me about Salesforce, okay? He's asking like, when are we going to integrate with Salesforce? I'm like, I'm working on it, but come on. Okay, so stop building wish lists.
From Split. So that's the number one thing, right? I think that this came from ABM MarTech vendors. Basically, they are propaganda. So they spoke a lot that you can, build this list, use these fancy companies, add them to our platform, and boom. And that's basically the second mistake, simplifying ABM. ABM is nothing new, but I just explained to you how we did it at Kimberly Clark, right? This is a methodology where you're going to prospect and activate specific accounts. But the truth is that these accounts should have a buying intent and should fit your ICP. And when it comes to ICP, it's not only, and that's potentially another mistake, not having a clear ICP, right? So it's not everybody that fits your firmographic data. Company that is New York, let's say New York based, I don't know, 1K employees and the revenue is like 1 billion, whatever. It just, you end up with a broad category of companies that potentially have zero intent to buy, right? Then you need to have account qualification criteria and account disqualification criteria. What makes this account good fit, right? And then you start nailing it down, adding some important things. And most important, account disqualification. If you'll apply everything, right? If there is anything else that will tell us that this account will never buy from us. Just to give you a precise example, one of our clients, enterprise fintech software that helps to hedge financial risks caused by currency fluctuations. It's mostly, for European companies that are exporting a lot and are operating in countries with the local currencies like Romania, for example, or Croatia, etc. So a good disqualification criteria is that if we'll look at CFO's profile on LinkedIn, and CFO is the main decision maker, and if this person is in his first year in this company, they usually never going to purchase this enterprise software because they learn a lot about the industry, the company, they build the team, operations, etc. And they are not just creating these processes and they are not dealing with hedging. Next one, if this person spent more than 5 years in this company on this position, it means as well that they have established the process and they have a vendor and they are not willing to change. So our sweet spot is the CFO who is in his second to his fourth year on that position in this specific company. And how did we learn this? You might be wondering. From customer interviews. And this is mistake number 3. It's not related to ABM, but it's just general marketing mistake. Most companies are never talking to their clients and they have zero clue, about these insights that I have just shared with you. Finally, about, again, ABM simplification. It's not that complicated, but still, it's not the fancy name for uploading accounts to LinkedIn or any ABM software, prospecting them with display ads, and then, sending the gifts via Sendoza or just attacking them, using outreach or sales loft with like multi-channel cadences. No way. And you ask me if it works. No, it doesn't work. So it just, let's call it straightforward. It's just a mass spam. It's not an account-based marketing. So when it comes to ABM, you have several stages, right? You have the fundamentals, you need to nail the verticals, the ICP, you need to understand the buying process, you need to understand the buying committee, right? How do they buy? What influences their decision-making process, right? What channels do they use? These are the fundamentals. Next one, you adapt your value proposition and positioning and marketing messaging in general to this specific segment. And then you start working on ABM. Step number one, account list building, right? So we mentioned several times how to do this. Step number 2, account research. And when it comes to account research, you need to research the company insights, as I mentioned, right? And then you need to research what are the goals, the needs, the initiatives of every buying committee member. That's crucial because finally you'll be selling to people inside the organization. And this is what most companies don't realize, right? You have different buying committee members. Maybe that's
it's not just one person. Yeah.
Exactly. That's maybe another mistake that lots of companies are making. They just focus heavily on decision makers and ignoring other buying committee members. So step number 3 is defining how to warm up these companies. That's crucial. If you warm up these companies, the goal of that part is basically building the relationship, getting insights from this company that you can use. And I'm not saying pitching them later, but basically understanding how to fit your offer, how to fit your product or service to their needs and goals and present it to them in the right way. So that's the part of warming up process. Then you have the activation, where basically you present this, right? And you want to generate an opportunity. And the last step is follow-up process, because let's say you do the outreach, but then you need to do like several follow-ups to get the insights and finally activate the account. So more or less, this is what we just spoke so far about the, let's say, about the campaigns where the goal is generated net new revenue. And that's potentially, if you'll ask me again about the mistake the companies that they're making with ABM, is just focusing only on net new revenue, because then you have churn prevention campaigns, deal expansion campaigns, contract renewal campaigns, pipeline acceleration campaigns, etc. So try to share as much as possible.
Yeah. So you made the leap into the consulting side a few years back, and you started Fullfunnel in 2017, which helps companies with their B2B marketing. What is one of the biggest problems that you and your team help solve for these companies?
Yeah, so we help B2B tech companies with high ACV and long sales cycles to install full funnel account-based marketing, which means that we don't do only these net new revenue campaigns, right? But we help them to influence top of the funnel, to create enough awareness on specific vertical, right? To create the right go-to-market strategy. So they would be positioned as a niche expert, not leader, but a niche expert, right? That's their potential prospects can reach to. Next one, creating the demand. That's crucial. Demand generation topic is exploding right now. But the question is, what does demand generation mean? For me, basically, demand generation is generating inbound opportunities, companies that become interested in your product or your services. And the best way to do it is basically sharing your expertise, sharing the case studies, practical case studies, and capturing that demand, right? Next step is installing these warming up campaigns, because the truth is, if you are selling maybe to micro businesses, or if you are selling low ticket product, then maybe it's not that relevant for you. You can stick to mass marketing campaigns. But if you are selling, high ACV product, then it's mandatory. You need to connect with these buying committee members. Next one is where we usually work with companies is operationalizing this and staking different warming up campaigns. But because the truth is that the best part, the best outcomes, the best results from ABM, your company will be getting when you are staking these campaigns. It means like if this account, let's pretend you are my target account, you didn't engage with one of my campaigns, I'm simply adding you to the next one, because the time might not be the right for you, right? And there are multiple things, and still I know that your company is a perfect fit and I can help you. Next one is activation part, and usually most companies stop here, but we have two more stages. We have the client success stage and deal expansion stage, and that's why we call it full funnel marketing. Why? Because when you close the deal, when you won the deal, right, the real relationship starts. You need to do the right onboarding. And in our case, I'm not talking about the product onboarding like most people think in SaaS. That's completely different story. I mean that now you need to train, if you are, let's say, if you are selling 2 million software, right, to the organization, you need to explain people how to use it, how to get maximum of it. You must make sure that they're satisfied, everybody gets, your product and starts using it, because if you are not doing this in 1 year, you'll be dealing, with situation when you receive an email, sorry guys, we just decided not to renew our contract. And then boom, your revenue is shrinking, right? Nobody wants to be, nobody wants to get that email. So that's why I spoke about contract renewal campaigns earlier, right? So you need to also, this is a place for customer interviews, something that I mentioned in the beginning. This is where you can ask these questions about their needs, goals, why did they decide to purchase the product, speak to different buying committee members, speak to the end users, right? and help them to get maximum of the product, tracking the satisfaction, etc. And tracking the milestones. When it comes to milestones, I mean, if they got any value of this product. Because if they didn't get any value, how can you get the referral? How can you get a case study?
Right.
How can you upsell to this company? What most companies are doing, and it's, for me, it's like, it's an obsolete tactic. When they send to me, an email, hey, would you like to leave a review on G2 Crowd or Capterra, and you can win $25 Amazon cart. I'm like, wow, guys, thank you so much. I was just going, to cancel my subscription. It's so absolute. So they think they can incentivize me to prevent the churn. No way. Nobody was caring for me for the last 3 or 4 months now, and you are just reaching out and trying to and that's really obsolete. So then, when it comes to account-based marketing, we have 3 tiers, right? So we have tier 1 companies with the highest revenue potential, then tier 2 medium revenue potential, and tier 3 the lowest revenue potential. And when it comes to marketing, does it make sense to prospect these companies the same way? Of course, no, right? Does it make sense to set up the same cost of acquisition for each of the tiers? Of course, no. But most companies are doing exactly the same. They try to prospect all of them the same way. And the same with client success, right? If it's tier 1 company that just brought you 2 millions, right? It's 20%, let's say, of your revenue. Should you onboard them the same way with automatic emails? Makes no sense.
No. We're talking about that. Like our best customers, we should give them like a dedicated Slack channel. We should make like a dedicated either Slack channel or phone number, hotline, whatever, so that they can get in touch with us immediately if they need to. Andrei, very, very good examples here of how you should approach these different tiers. But a struggle that most companies are doing is that they're doing it all the same. One tool that I've become interested in is called Crossbeam, which allows you to see the overlap of customers and non-paid customers with other brands. What do you know about this tool, if you know anything about it, and what is your thoughts on it?
Honestly, it's hard to say because I have never seen it. I have never used it. So it's really hard to, to provide any feedback without having any prior experience.
Okay. Now, in regards to marketing and sales, are you reading anything lately or listening to anything lately that has blown your mind or changed your perspective when it comes to account-based marketing or sales?
What blows my mind is talking to our customers. That's every time, you see, you have some hypothesis and then they, share this and it either proves what you were thinking, or gives you like new perspective and you, oh, wow, so I didn't think about this. And then, okay, we are running, so we're doing literally the same that I just explained to you. So we're not, shoemakers without shoes. So that's quite often, I use these insights because we do the account research beforehand. And I'm like, okay, this is probably something that I missed, right? Okay, this is something that I could do better next time to refine the process and potentially accelerate the sales cycle. So customer insights is the best thing for me. Aside this, it's our community. Quite often I see the questions that people ask, it gives me better understanding of like the market needs and peers conversations. So chatting with people like Chris Walker, right? Even he speaks more about the demand generation. Still, it's highly aligned with account-based marketing. So basically talking to my peers, for me, the biggest inspiration was the Fullfunnel Summit, the third edition that we hosted last week with all this, star lineup. I got lots of practical insights. I won't say that I learned something new, but it always, you hear how different people think about the same, so from different angles, and it helps you to refine your own processes and knowledges. I honestly, if you'll ask me, I stopped reading blogs, stopped reading newsletters, I mean marketing related, etc. What I'm reading a lot now. I'm reading lots of historical books, economy books, etc., because they are given me this information, that you can use you can understand the bigger picture, right? And when you have like a 360% degree, 360-degree overview of like one specific problem, you understand it from different angles. It's way easier to help your clients to get better results.
Awesome. Now, before we go, I have a couple of fun questions for you so the audience can get to know your personality a little bit. First question for you, Andrei. What attractive celebrity would you set your phone's wallpaper to? Okay, if you had to set your phone's wallpaper to an attractive celebrity, who would it be?
That would be Alessandra Del Piero, ex-player of Juventus, my favorite football team. You can still see I'm wearing the hoodie. Big fan of it.
Okay. Second question for you. What is something weird that you obsess about?
That was unexpected. Something weird that I'm obsessed with. Maybe understanding, this like different historical trends and how they influences where we are right now. So I'm trying to, dive deeply and get this different, insights and see, okay, so right now we're dealing with what, like, I don't know, Austrian-Hungarian Empire was dealing, 200 years ago. So it's a similar situation. And then they did this, and then we don't have this empire anymore. So potentially I need to do something different. So just to give you maybe a precise example. So these are the things that, I don't know if we can call it weird, but I'm really obsessed. So I'm trying to see all the circumstances and understanding, as well when it comes, let's say, to our business, to our clients, understanding the behind the scenes, right? Why people are doing this, or why they are not motivated to do something, right? Why they are struggling right now. So getting these different perspectives.
Okay, interesting. Andrei, thanks so much for being on the show. For everybody listening, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to give us a review. All right. Thanks, Andrei. Cheers.
Thank you so much for having me. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could give us a review and star rating. Also, don't forget to sign up for the ICO newsletter at innovatorscanlaugh.com, where you can get the bio and details of each guest. Thanks.